basically from the game studio side, we do obviously work with a lot of developers and publishers that work with external vendors, or they have their internal teams as well. And we very commonly see these kind of challenges and pain points that obviously video games change all the time. Every second somebody might commit a change, so keeping track of those, especially outsourcing those to the vendors and keeping the vendors in sync, is a big challenge for the teams. Working with multiple translators, they can overwrite whatever the other has been working on. We'll show you that we do have the aforementioned tracking feature, so we have a history, so you can track exactly who edited what exactly and what edits were, and things like that. Obviously, the usage of AI is very common among studios, and we do specifically tag whatever has been translated by AI, MT, came from the TM, edited by a human. So you can actually kind of tell exactly and filter on those things as well. And obviously, the next point kind of goes back to the first one. So, source changes, syncing to a vendor is a pain, but syncing to multiple vendors, that's sometimes can be chaotic. And obviously slow translation cycles because of all the aforementioned points as well. And sometimes, things can come back broken, tag issues, variables, formatting can break the game builds, for instance. So, we have, memoQ has, but we have as well some QA features built in that can actually kind of show you what those errors are, if tags are missing, not used. I encountered the other day that, for example, a tag was translated into Spanish, which shouldn't be the case, obviously, etc. And of course, you can manage multiple review steps, QA, LQA, because Gridley is a collaborative platform, so many teams can make changes and make edits at the same time as well on the content.
Good, thank you, Gabor. Now I'll talk a little bit about the challenges and pain points experienced by vendors. You'll see that some of them overlap with the studios, and some of the challenges that I'll mention, I also see them on the studio's side when they are only using memoQ. So I think probably number one is the big files. Nobody likes big files, but memoQ is a file-based software, and files are static as well. So that can be a big problem. It's not an issue for small games with just a couple of thousand words, but I've seen spreadsheets with literally millions of words. So you can imagine whenever there's a source update, you need to re-import the whole thing, and that will affect load times, just performance in general, and synchronization time. As you know, memoQ can be used on the web and in the desktop client as well. So if you really want to use the desktop, you need to keep synchronizing things, and big files will slow things down a lot. So it's not easy to do simultaneous translation and review, which is not ideal all the time, but it's sometimes necessary because of time constraints. So if you're working on file-based workflows, then you have to wait until the linguist finishes the whole thing before starting the review. Otherwise, you are reviewing something that may not be completely final, and that's when you start running into problems. Another issue that I see is the lack of translation memories on the studio's end. And this may not seem like a big deal, but I see it as a big problem when quality is really at the center of things. If you really want good quality, having TMs will provide you with more consistent, let's say, pre-translations for the vendors, because the vendor TMs and the studio TMs not always match. So if you don't have a TM on the studio's end, that can be a problem. And this is also related to the fact that reviews and LQA are usually done by the studios themselves. Well, not usually, but sometimes. And if that's the case, and there's no link between the vendor resources and the studio resources, then that's bad. As you can imagine, a vendor delivers a translation, the studio does the LQA or a review, and then they don't send those changes back, or they don't have a TM to be able to pre-translate using those resources for the next batch, then the next batch will be done with outdated resources, and that will result in not great quality. Another issue that I see vendors experience a lot is the changes in file format. I see people complain about this a lot. So I mentioned that import filters in memoQ are a big strength, but they are a big strength if your source files are consistent. If they're constantly changing, then that's a problem because they will just fail, or you have to create filters over and over again. And finally, I already mentioned that sometimes linguists ask their LSPs to switch to memoQ, and this is related to the last challenge. Sometimes studios will use different tools, or they will use their own, and the vendors rely on memoQ a lot. So they end up doing all kinds of magic using scripts and conversions and whatever to make sure the files are compatible with memoQ. They can do their stuff in memoQ and then switch back to the original software, which will take a lot of time and effort, of course. So those are just some of the challenges.